Welcome, history students, to this explainer. We are jumping right into one of the absolute darkest chapters of the 20th century, the Chernobyl disaster. But we're not just going to bog down in the mechanical failures today. Instead, we're going to trace the tragic minute-by-minute timeline of what happened and really focus in on the profound human impact. We're talking about real people who woke up to a world that was literally forever changed.
So imagine this. As dawn broke over the city of Pripyat, you have this staggering, dramatic irony unfolding in real time. Families just woke up and went about their normal routines. Kids headed outside to the sandpits, folks commuted to their jobs. It felt like any other peaceful morning. But they were completely unaware of the invisible, deadly danger that was already raining down all around them.
To truly wrap our heads around the gravity of this, we have to map out the timeline. Because the real tragedy, it didn't just happen with the explosion at time zero. It lived in that terrifying gap right after. The reactor burned, a deceptive dawn arrived, and an agonizing 36 hours ticked by before evacuation buses finally showed up. It's in that specific gap where the true human tragedy took root.
Which brings us to part one of our timeline, the invisible enemy, and that dawn over Pripyat.
What's absolutely chilling here is the massive disconnect between perception and reality. The citizens perceived a totally normal day, right? Packing lunches, tying shoes, heading to school. But the reality was this silent infiltration. Deadly radiation was spreading rapidly through the air like wildfire. But the enemy was entirely invisible. You couldn't see it, you couldn't smell it, and you couldn't taste it.
And, well, human curiosity is a powerful thing. Lacking any official warnings, curiosity just took over. A lot of residents stepped outside simply to watch this strange, eerie glow hovering above the damaged reactor. Tragically, they had no idea that every single minute they stood there marveling at the spectacle, they were drastically increasing their exposure to radioactive fallout. Let's move into part two, the Exodus, 36 hours later. It took nearly 36 agonizing hours after the initial explosion for a fleet of buses to finally arrive in Pripyat. Actually, think about that for a second. That is a full day and a half. For a day and a half, an entire population lived, breathed, and played inside a highly radioactive zone, totally blind to the ticking clock. And when the evacuation finally did begin, officials issued this incredibly tragic and deceptive directive over the loudspeakers. They said, "You will be leaving for only a few days." Believing that, families packed just a handful of basic belongings. They locked their doors behind them, fully expecting they'd be back by the end of the week. They could never have imagined, no way, that it was the absolute last time they would ever see their homes. Because they firmly believed they were coming right back, the city was instantly frozen in time. The human impact is literally etched into what was left behind. We're talking about dolls discarded on classroom floors, homework sitting wide open on desks, unwashed dishes left in apartment sinks. The whole shebang of everyday life was abandoned exactly where it stood that afternoon, turning Pripyat into a permanent ghost town. Now, let's look at part three, a lasting legacy and the immense human cost. As students of history, we absolutely have to pause and recognize the staggering human sacrifice that followed. While the citizens fled, thousands of brave workers and emergency responders moved in. They ran toward the danger. They risked their own lives, exposing themselves to immense levels of radiation just to contain that burning reactor. Their swift, self-sacrificing actions literally prevented an even greater, unimaginable catastrophe for the rest of the world. Decades later, the abandoned city of Pripyat still stands, though it's slowly being reclaimed by nature. It acts as a haunting, physical reminder of that night. This disaster fundamentally shocked the entire world, for sure, and it remains one of the most sobering lessons in the history of nuclear energy. It was a localized tragedy, but one that left a permanent global scar. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. Based on this tragic timeline we just walked through, the invisible threats and those lives permanently frozen in place in Pripyat, what does this disaster truly demand of us when wielding the immense power of nuclear energy today? It's a massive question of absolute responsibility that we have to keep answering. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.